Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we have with us Willard Barth with Willard Barth Enterprises. Welcome to the program, Willard.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And, give me a little bit of background on your entrepreneurial journey. What led you to your current coaching and consulting firm?
My entrepreneurial, can't say the word, but I know what it is. My entrepreneurial.
Right, I know. Try spelling it.
Yeah, really. It gets to be a little bit of a challenge. Actually, I started my first business when I was 19 years old. Very, very simple business where I'd been introduced to some wholesalers in Philadelphia who sold jewelry, silver, gold, and precious gems. And I would go out basically door to door to businesses and find places to sell them for a small markup. And that was my introduction to owning a business. At the same time, I was pursuing a career in music, something I had done since a teenager. And as I moved closer to New York City, having gained some interest from publishers and managers, I started studying the back end of the music industry. And that led to my next business venture, which was putting on educational seminars to help people learn about the business. And I just found that the same way that I enjoyed the creativity in music, that I also love the creativity in business, and that just continued from there. So I started several different companies. Some were software development, some were brick and mortar. And then after a short stint working for Tony Robbins back in the late 90s, moved into the coaching and consulting field. I've been doing that now for about 18 years.
That is quite the interesting past, and I'm sure you still have connections that might even lead to speaking or coaching there from the music industry, right?
I actually do. I continued on the music path, releasing a CD back in the late 90s and the 2000s that one of the tracks did very well overseas. And I still have relationships in those industries. I actually spoke at a couple of expos over the past couple of years that were industry-based. So, yeah, it has opened up some opportunities in that field.
Yeah, it's just always neat just to kind of speak from, your area of passion, and I'm sure that's a really big thing for you as well. So tell me a little bit about projects that you're working on now and what you focus on when you want to or when you do actually work with a client.
Sure. I mean, right now I work as a part of a team of consultants. There's about 12 to 15 of us that we come in and we work holistically with companies. We've found in the past that many times a company will hire somebody to consult with their sales team and then somebody to consult with their financial team and HR, and you end up having 3 different entities with their own objectives. And about 9 years ago, myself and this group said, let's approach it differently. Let's start coming in to work with companies that we work with it on a holistic approach. So we come in and we have some proprietary software that we help diagnose what's going on with the business. Actually, the client does because they're putting in the information. And then we plug the right people into the areas where they're struggling so we're all working on the same objectives. And our clients range everything from, I actually just got off a phone call right before this with a landscaping company based out of Virginia that we work with, they're doing phenomenal. We originally started out with them with a 3-year goal to help them hit $2.2 million, and it looks like they're going to hit that a year early. We work with companies that are design build firms in the commercial real estate arena, and we even work with some event and marketing companies that put on productions and events for things like the Super Bowl and the Masters and things like that. So our role is coming into companies who have reached a certain level of competency in what they do, and they're looking to grow to that next level, but they haven't been there yet. So our role is to come in and help them, clear the path and create that path of how they're going to go to that next level, basically with strategy and execution.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, part of my tagline is strategy, tactics, and execution, because you have to have a strategy first, and then you can't execute without tactics, and you certainly can't execute without a strategy. So I love that framework. Tell me a little bit more about, I know that you have a book out. So what's the focus of the anatomy of transformation?
Absolutely. Yeah, the anatomy of transformation came about after talking to one of my mentors. Anybody who takes some time to get to know my personal journey will find out that there were a lot of personal obstacles that I overcame. And my mentor was saying that to me. He said, there's a lot of people who've overcome, they're cancer survivors, or they've overcome drug and alcohol addiction, or they've overcome being $250,000 in debt. They've overcome actually even having been in jail at one point. He goes, but there's not many people who have overcome them all, and also now helps companies and their clients transform their lives. And he said, what's the foundation? What's the organizing principles that I've used in my own personal life and that I use with my clients? And I really sat down and had to look at it and go, okay, what is the common thread that has allowed me to make tremendous transformations and also my clients? And came up with this system, with this framework that everybody I've talked to while I was developing it, whether they were a client or another successful person, whether a business person or entertainer or athlete, when we were discussing these phases of transformation, they all agreed that it was the only way that they went from where they were to where they are now was by going through these phases and applying the principles that existed. So it seems to be this universal framework that's there. I just have put it down into these 7 phases and 2 other modules around it that now are saying, look, if you understand this and you follow this framework, it will help you get from where you are to where you want to be.
Yeah, I love that one, because you can have a theory that, it should work, but when you have something that's proven from your own life, that's super powerful. What did you find that common thread was? I don't want to necessarily have a 9-hour coaching session, but what did you find the common thread was that now is the foundation of those 7 pieces of framework?
Well, very quickly, the 7 phases of transformation starts out with ignorance. There's a place where all of us begin where we don't know what we're doing. Now, that could either be something that we're doing that's self-detrimental, whether it's bad habits, or whether it could just be that we are not aware that there are opportunities that are there for us. I grew up in an area where factory workers' kids became factory workers, doctors' kids became doctors. So to grow up the son of a nurse and a truck driver, you don't really think that you're going to be an entrepreneur and a consultant someday until somebody awakens you to that idea. So phase 1 is ignorance. You don't know the possibilities are there. Phase 2 is awareness. Awareness does not lead to transformation. Sometimes it ends up becoming the excuse and the story that people use that prevent them from moving forward. And they say, oh, well, I can't do that because I don't have the money, or I don't have the education, or whatever their limiting belief system or their fear is. Phase 3 is where you actually take responsibility. You say, you know what, the reason I am where I am, good or bad, is based on the decisions I've made in the past and the actions that I've taken. And if I can take responsibility for where my life is now based on those decisions and actions, then I'm empowered to create the life that I desire by taking responsibility. Then that moves us to phase 4, which is what I call immersion. How committed are you to the process? Many people don't succeed because when it comes to the point of immersion, they have so many limiting beliefs and fears. They'll say, well, I'll try to start a business, or I'll try to quit smoking, or I'll try to get healthy. And try, I think, really should be removed from the English language, because you either do something or you don't. So how immersed are you in your level of commitment to making that transformation? Then the next phase, phase 5, I call interdependence. The only way that I was able to succeed in the things in life that I've succeeded in was by learning from others who've already walked the path. And that wasn't just one mentor. If I was interested in learning about the music industry, I would talk to many people who were in publishing, and many people who were managers, and many people who were entertainment attorneys, to look for those common threads in each of those areas that say, okay, that's the way that these people do it, but this must be the organizing principle or the truth. Through interdependence, you then get to what I call phase 6 of ownership. Now you take a little bit from everybody and you make it uniquely your own, and it becomes your identity, because you're no longer a person who is ignorant of the idea. You now are educated and experienced by having gone out and put the effort in. And then that automatically takes you into phase 7, which is influence. Doesn't mean you're going to become a speaker or a coach or a trainer, but just for the fact that you have made your own transformation, you by example influence and inspire others to be able to make transformations themselves.
So that was a mouthful there. That's awesome. So here's a question. If someone reads that book and I would venture to say that someone's going to relate to one of those levels or the other, or a few, right? And mm-hmm. I would suspect that some people could feel overwhelmed to go, where do I start? And I don't know that I can get through it. What do you say to the person that says, I recognize I have a problem, I know I want to move forward with improving this and this and this, but where do you start and how do you keep them focused?
Well, great question. The book is actually designed to be an interactive process. So there are exercises in the book that help walk people through each one of the phases. Okay. When it comes to the overwhelm, there's really only 2 things that prevent anybody from moving from one phase to the next. What I have gotten as feedback from people when I'm doing speaking engagements on the anatomy of transformation, or when they've read the book, is the biggest aha for them was it helped them identify which phase they were currently in. And by identifying that, then they could look at, again, these 2 factors, the only 2 factors that prevent people from moving from one phase to the next. One is limiting belief systems. Your belief systems determine the amount of potential that you tap into, which then determines the amount of action you take, which then determines the type of results that you get. And if you have limiting beliefs, you're going to tap into less potential, take less action, not get the results that you're looking for. So limiting beliefs will prevent you from moving forward. And then the other is fear. Fear really is designed to be a confidant for us, to say, you know what, hey, slow down, get some more information, proceed with caution. But many people, as one of my mentors has said, they use fear as a jailer rather than as giving you the certainty for those next steps, and they allow fear to just completely prevent them from moving forward. So what people have found is it allows them to identify which phase they're in, and then it also gets them the question. Again, that's part of the book and the system also is, how do you identify what some of those limiting beliefs and fears are, and how can you transform those limiting beliefs into beliefs that will move you forward, and how do you overcome those fears?
Yeah, I think that a lot of times people would say, it makes sense that I have a limiting belief, but I have no clue what my limiting belief is. So if you're going to walk them through some exercises so that becomes apparent, I think that's super helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. Most of us, we haven't been given the education on how to identify these things within ourselves. School teaches us a lot of things, but not how to run the greatest supercomputer on the planet, which is between our ears, and how to learn how to identify what really is stopping us, and that we do have the control to be able to change these things. So there's very simple processes to be able to identify what your limiting beliefs are about things, and it's just as easy to change some of them. We just have not been made aware of them.
Yeah, so what do you find is either a similarity or a difference in limiting beliefs and fear? Because I would suspect that there is a lot of things that would be similar in fear and a limiting belief, because they would have some overlap, right?
Yeah, there definitely can be overlap. I mean, when I'm talking to people about identifying limiting beliefs, first thing I tell them to do is look at an area of your life where you're not achieving what you desire to achieve, or you haven't even attempted it, and use the following fill-in-the-blank statement. I can't because fill in the blank. So I can't start my own business because fill in the blank. Or I can't have a healthy relationship because fill in the blank. And that's where you start identifying what the limiting beliefs are. So a person may say, I can't start my own business because I'm too young. I can't start my own business because I don't know how. I can't start my own business because I don't have the money. Well, I'm too young, I don't know how, and I don't have the money are the limiting beliefs. Now, the question is, how can you change that belief to be something that actually empowers you? Too young is not a bad thing unless you make it a bad thing. Too young can actually be the differentiator that helps you get ahead because you're looking at things from a different perspective. You may be focusing an industry that has been totally driven by things that are not technology based, but because you're young and you have this insight to being brought up on social media and understanding computers at a different level, that you actually could totally disrupt in a positive way that industry because of your youth. So you can look at being too young as being the limitation, or you can turn that and see it from a different perspective that actually has you bringing the value. And that's the truth for any of the limiting beliefs. The fears many times are based on past experiences that you think, well, because this happened in the past, it's going to happen again. My past experience says that when I tried to start a business in the past, I failed, and therefore I fear that it's going to happen again. Or fear also is the expectation of something that hasn't occurred yet, the fear of the unknown and how you're not going to deal with it. So there is a little bit of overlap of limiting beliefs, but they're also two very separate things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does, and I see your point, and I really liked your kind of framework of, for every kind of like with kids, you can say, wow, that's a strong-willed kid, which could be a negative, but then you could say, and because they're strong-willed, they could grow up to be a leader and feed into the positive side of it, because there really is a balance there, and you might be, whatever it is, a small company, and that could be a negative, but because we're small, we're nimble, and we can provide more concierge service. So there's those aspects. So I really like that mindset.
Yeah, your belief systems are totally determined by your perception, what you choose to believe. As a friend of mine says, and I want to be careful going down this road, she says that if you look at the word belief, the middle of it is a lie. And most of the people live by beliefs that were given to them by someone else that are not their truth. And it's the question of, why am I living that belief that I never had the opportunity to make a decision in? So we'll adapt the beliefs of our parents who say, oh, you could never do that. Or from somebody who saw us starting a business and they had their own fears or their own limiting beliefs about what were possible, and they tell us we can't for whatever reason, and because we have respect for them, we automatically adopt that belief, but it's not true. We get to choose what really is going to be our path. And people say, oh, well, you can't change belief systems that easily. I'm willing to bet that there are plenty of your listeners out here who had a belief that previously they would have stood by and defended to the death, that they'd be embarrassed to say that they believed in previously. We are constantly changing our beliefs when we gather new information, when we have new experiences. So why not make a conscious choice on beliefs that are going to support us? It's not out of the realm of reality to go from, like just what you said. Somebody could say it's a limitation that you're a small company, but when you look at the other opportunities and the other options, you go, well, wait a minute, because we're small, we're nimble. We can change quickly. We don't have ingrained processes that would make it hard for us to adjust to changes in the economy or changes in our clients' needs. So it's all about how can you frame that to serve you.
Yeah, I love it. And I love the concept of your book. So let's wrap up with, what's the best way that people can learn more about yourself and pick up a copy of your book?
Absolutely. Well, to learn about myself, they can go to willardbarth.com, Willard as in David, B as in boy, ART as in Tom, H.com. And also for your listeners right now, we've got a special going on where we're doing, you get the book for free, you just pay shipping and handling. And you can take advantage of that offer at TAOT, the abbreviation for the Anatomy of Transformation, TAOTbook.com.
Excellent. Well, Willard, thank you so much for coming on today. It was wonderful getting to know you. Thanks for your time, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.